kanaka and the natural environment. You know, in Hawaiian language, there's no actual word for nature or natural. And so the whole concept of nature and the realm of humans is a colonial construct, and it has roots way back in Greek and Roman times. We have a new word, kulohelohe, for natural, or au kulohelohe, nature. But it kind of tells you that our kupuna did not separate what is now considered the natural realm or nature from themselves. So when it comes to the concept of nature, we have that now because we have a colonial mindset. But when it comes to viewing the natural realm as, through our genealogies, as family members, then there's no separation between us and that. The interconnectedness between what's nature and what's kanaka, the concept is different. There was no separation. It was all considered equal. But again, with colonization and with modernization, the concept of nature is now prevalent in here. So we have all of these new groups, nature conservancies and things like that, that want to preserve nature, as opposed to seeing the kanaka role in what is now termed nature. So when it comes to the heritage concepts of kanaka role in our environment, we have a hard time thinking in our modern day that we are not an integral species in our environment. And when the first foreigners came, they noted the beauty of the land, they noted the fertility of the land, without recognizing the role that kanaka played in that entire system. And so even the vast plains of pili grass might look like a quote-unquote wild place, but it was actively accessed and managed. We look at the forest resources, and we know that people like bird catchers and hula people and canoe makers accessed the forest continuously. And so management of those natural resources, the results of that management is what the first foreigners saw and noted, but they did not chalk it up to the ingenuity and the relationship of kanaka and the environment and how it was managed as an extension of the familial system, which was completely foreign to those non-kanaka people. When it comes to interactions with the environment, when it comes to our fluidity and movement within the environment, there's a term in Hawaii called leva, and it means to be thoroughly familiar with, right? So if I know my land, well, every nook and cranny will leva, but leva also means to float. So if you can imagine that type of relationship where I'm just here, I feel in complete control, I'm just floating here. That's the concept of relationship and familiarity that the kupuna strived to get. Every nook and cranny, every stone, every large tree, they're familiar with those types of things, and the mo'olelo that go there. So some of the traditions that we have that keep us connected to our environment are forms of mo'olelo. Mo'olelo is something that is passed on intergenerationally and across generations. It's something that's successively told, right? It's a mo'olelo. It's a succession of speech. Forms of mo'olelo include mele, which are now termed song or chant because they're oral expressions that are passed along successively. They also include mo'olelo that we now call historical stories, mo'olelo ka'au, which are kind of the more fantastical stories. Mo'olelo also include place names because they're something that's spoken, that's passed on successively. Personal names or names of ancestors are forms of mo'olelo as well. And these things help to inform us about many, many things, right? But also about place as well. So our traditions of mo'olelo are still ways that we can connect to ʻāina. even our religious practices or the spiritual practices, the things that we depend upon require us to go into what's now called nature, to require us to go into the environment in a way that is conducive to communion, in a way that allows us to become one with these things, bring them into the kanaka, which is the human realm, and allow us to use those things to connect with the akua, which are the realm of the non-humans. If you look at practices like makahiki, it looks to be a form of contest between teams or between individuals. But if you look at the games like ulumaika, which is the type of bowling that we do, we take that olohu and try to bowl it through those two posts. That is a symbolic fertilization of the land. So you have the olohu, which represents a male anatomy, and then you have those two upright posts, which represents the female anatomy. And successfully, the athletes lend their vitality, their fertility, to fertilize the land in that way. The moa pahe'e is the same, right? You have this oblong moa, and then you pahe'e it between the two things. You have a spear throwing, right? Where you try to sink the hard spear into the soft, receptive banana stump, right? So you have all of these forms of human interaction that is actually meant to strengthen our ties to the environment and actually lend our vitality and our fertility to the land so that it can continue to be fertile and we can benefit mutually.